Okay, so my name is Melissa Saris. I am an artist with a socially engaged art practice, which in a nutshell means I collaborate with marginalized groups with the intention of fostering connections with the broader community. This presentation should take about 10 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A. If you think of a question while I'm talking, feel free to add it to the chat, and you'll also find some useful links that you can copy out. I began Stitching Exchange in 2019. I was working with the Hudson Family Literacy Group in Hudson, New York, as well as Refugee and Immigrant Support Services of Emmaus in Albany, or RISE, with my partner, Stitching Exchange, Upstitch. Stitching Exchange uses the hands-on activity of sewing as a common language. Stitching Exchange is for any immigrant learning English. And while we experiment with hand embroidery or learning to use a sewing machine, we learn new related English words and practice speaking. Along the way, we carve out space for creative expression, community, and friendship. So HandWork is my new program for Stitching Exchange in 2022. So HandWork will match up the interests and abilities of volunteers with the specific needs and interests of immigrants. We'll work together fostering friendships. Through all things related to the stitch, we will collaborate and make something beautiful. So how does HandWork work, you might ask? So I've organized this program around an informal time bank. Time banking is a labor and time-based bartering system where people exchange services for hourly time credits rather than money. After being a helper volunteer, you'll have the opportunity to select a handmade item, though the person you help may not be the maker of the handmade item. You will have the chance to assist your partner throughout the summer. Then on Saturday, September 17th at the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, we will have a party where all of the wonderful handmade items will be on display to choose from and take home. Periodically, you can look at our virtual bulletin board to see the beautiful stitched items being made by Stitching Exchange participants. So you can see I've sort of made this funny little extremely modest graph showing how things might work. I will ask that each of you send me an email with what skills you have to offer, your availability, and your contact info. Initially, I will add this to our virtual bulletin board, which I'll show you in just a minute. And then I'll help match you up with an immigrant who is interested in what you can offer. And I'll help facilitate that first meeting with you guys, with the two of you. Then you meet and get to know each other. I'll ask that you keep track of your meetings in your HandWork notebook. There's another one pictured, but I'll just hold one up here. Jot down what you did together and on what date, etc. At the end of your first meeting, arrange a time for your second meeting. My hope is that by meeting with your partner several times, you will really get to know each other and perhaps a friendship will blossom. Of course, you may make plans with your partner and new friend as you like. So I'm going to now show you the bulletin board. So everybody can see the bulletin board. So this is on a Google Doc, and that's the first page. On the second page, I've put those links in again, and I've also put the dates in for when we will be at the Troy and Washington Park Farmers Markets. The next slide just has a couple of images of things that have already been made that will become part of this time bank. On this page is a little information about one Stitching Exchange participant, Taslima. And then I will be, to start out with, I will put your information on these cards. As time goes along, you'll have the link, you'll be able to go in, you can change things, you can add things to it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to say some things that maybe seem obvious, but I think they're worth saying. I want to encourage you to think about this so that everyone has a fantastic experience. Try to use simple language when you're talking with your partner. Slow down and omit colloquial expressions. Later I can tell you a funny story about the expression tidy up, if you like. Consider also how you personally are feeling about our post-COVID world. Maybe you prefer to wear a mask when you are in indoor spaces or around people you don't know. I say great. I encourage you to let your preferences known on day one with your partner. And just a quick note, all RISE students are required to be vaccinated to attend classes. Sometimes you may be asked to help with something that requires looking over personal information. For example, healthcare related forms, or assisting with navigating through complicated or bureaucratic websites, such as the DMV. If for any reason you don't feel sure about what's being asked of you, just say no, or ask to think it over and get back to your partner, or let me know and I can be of assistance with these kinds of things. My personal example of taking on a task that was surprisingly difficult was navigating through the DMV website. It nearly killed me. But Taslima and her daughter Sumaya both passed their written tests on their first try. Yay. So some other examples of things that I've helped with that I found difficult were a health screening questionnaire, applying for a job online, helping somebody with that, finding a lost password, or returning a package to Amazon. These things seem so obvious, but I did not find them to be. There we go. Okay. So here are a couple of free apps that I recommend that you put on your phone. These links are in the chat. So WhatsApp is a free app that provides instant messaging and voice over IP services. Many folks I have worked with have cell phones, but do not have cellular calling plans. They can use their phones only where there is Wi-Fi. WhatsApp makes it possible to call or text your partner from your cell phone, and they will receive these calls wherever they have Wi-Fi, whenever they have Wi-Fi. Most folks do have Wi-Fi at home, especially since the pandemic, especially if they have children, school-age children. Check to see if this is a good way to communicate. And you may also want to ask if somebody else in the family, such as a spouse or older children, have a cellular number, and try to get this number as well for communicating. If you'll be working together regularly where there is Wi-Fi at your home, a library, or Upstitch, show them how to access this on their phones. Google Translate is another great free app that can help with communication. Your partner may come from a country where there is lack of access to education, especially for women. Keep in mind that they may not be able to read or write their native languages. Google Translate has an audio component that can help when reading is an issue. Also, see if your partner has an email address and exchange yours with them. And ask if they regularly check this email. This can be very useful for so many things that we take for granted, including applying for a job. If they don't have email, help them set up a Gmail account on their phones. Okay, maybe what you've all been waiting for. So if you are interested in participating as a stitcher or a maker, and you want to put your love of sewing to use, there are lots of ways, whether you have limited time or plenty. So here are three. You can share a project that you really enjoy. I will match you up with a stitching exchange participant to work together. Upstitch will provide the materials. Projects can include sewing by hand or machine, or crochet and knitting. If possible, plan to work together to make one item your partner can keep and one that will become part of the time bank supply. and just try to be very open to collaboration. Another way to participate as a maker stitcher is adding an element to an in-process project. I call this call and response stitching. This is an interesting way to get involved if you have limited time to participate. You could make a simple pillow top. We will pass this to a stitching exchange participant to add something to, perhaps a word that's hand embroidered in their native language. Then the pillow top will be passed back to you or someone else, perhaps adding the English translation in hand embroidery. And then the final way that I have listed here, and I'm sure people will come up with other ways, is to finish up a project, which of course is such an important final step. So maybe you add the backing to the pillow top, or you add the pocket onto the market bag after the handwork is completed. If you want to be involved, I will find a way to fit in your unique talents and interests and accommodate your schedule. Okay. And then this is the last piece. Over the summer, Stitching Exchange participants and I will attend the Washington Park and Troy farmers markets. If you are able to help with transporting participants, setup or breakdown, or actually working in the booth with us, you would be most welcome. We can also use help assembling the hand embroidery kits. Just make a note of this interest in your email to me. And while we are at the farmers markets, we will showcase what we're doing with the handwork project so far, and we will be offering the public free mini hand embroidery lessons that the women who are learning English will be the teachers of. So it'll be a great opportunity for them to practice speaking English. Okay. All right, I am going to stop sharing my screen. That's the part where I just talk and talk part. That part's now over.